Welcome everyone to Canadian New Yorker with another uh, live stream for today. And good morning to everyone out there um, who are just getting at the start of your day. So many things going on this morning. I appreciate you guys coming on and listening to this live stream. So, there's a lot of things that I'm going to cover for today. I'm going to be continuing my last previous live streams. I covered news about what's going down with the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team and women's soccer. And for today, we're going to be covering. We also covered information going on with the men's soccer team for today. So I'm coming back and I'm bringing you guys some more information on what's going down with the men's soccer team. And man, it's just the same old stuff that's happening time and time again. Um, the men's soccer team just has drama. As you can see, I have all this. I put it in the description box, and I have included the links to this, to the articles here. But also on top of that, we're going to be going from talking about the U.S. men's soccer team to there's a little bit of news out there about the updated FIFA schedule. The World Cup schedule, and also I have some interesting news also on the Argentinian Team Argentina for the World Cup. It involves Messi. So you'll be seeing what this is all about here. So without further ado, let's get into the first article here. And I don't expect this live stream. It's not going to be a really long live stream. Just long enough. I'm not expecting it to be too long. We're not going to be on here for today. But here's the information that's come out August 17th. Christian Pulisic is a big boy. Miola told Pulisic's father to step back. August 17th, 2025. This article is on prosoccerwire.com. So it says here, Christian Pulisic's father, Mark, should not respond publicly to critics of his son, according to longtime U.S. men's soccer national team goalkeeper Tony Meola. The elder Pulisic has been in the spotlight multiple times this summer amid the fallout from his son's controversial decision to skip the Gold Cup. The U.S. men's national team legend Landon Donovan was among the most vocal critics of the AC Milan star, which did not sit well with Mark Pulisic. Mark Pulisic said, quote, "This guy is talking about commitment, look in the mirror and grow a pair, can call names out, or are you afraid next time you want an interview you will get rejected again?" Close quote. Mark Pulisic charged an Instagram post that was eventually deleted. This week, Mark Pulisic was once again in the spotlight defending his son's actions this summer. This time it was newly released episodes of a documentary series Pulisic from CBS Sports, referring to former U.S. men's team players criticizing his son. Mark Pulisic said, "I think they should look in the mirror and look at their last performances for the national team before they start talking." Continuing, Meola, who may or may not be one of the former players turned pundits that Mark Pulisic was referencing, shot back during Call It What You Want podcast from CBS Sports. Meola said, "I've been friends with Mark Pulisic for a long time. We played together at the youth level. You gotta stay out of Mark." Meola said, "I know you're a dad. I know you get emotional. Your kid is at the top of the heap, right? I've got friends in other major sports in America that their kids are right now in the top of the heap. To listen to this all the time about their kids, you can't respond. Stay out, Mark. Christian is a big boy. He will be able to do this on his own. He will be able to carry this team." Close quote. Parental interference was one major cause of the biggest scandals in recent American soccer history, which involved ex-U.S. men's soccer team head coach Greg Berhalter and the Reina family in the aftermath of the 2022 World Cup. So, very interesting excuse me, quite an interesting development from that point, talking about the parental interference occurring in the U.S. men's soccer in the 2022 World Cup. Obviously, there'll probably be a separate live stream for that. But I mean, Miola's calling it out. Miola's telling Christian Pulisic's father, Mark Pulisic, that he needs to take a step back and just let his son accept criticism. That remains to be seen. And so far, Christian's, behavior of him not being in the Gold Cup is what, the U.S. lost the Gold Cup to Mexico, and that affected the ability of the U.S. men's national team to actually win the Gold Cup, and Mexico won it. So, however controversial as it is, they won they won the game. So that's what happened. So let's kind of go forward. There's some more news about Christian Pulisic. So in this article from August 18th, 2025, San Siro explodes after U.S. men's national team star Christian Pulisic is replaced in Milan's Coppa Italia clash. Says Luka Modric made his official debut for AC Milan on Sunday in front of more than 71,000 fans at San Siro as the team beat Bari 2-0. In the Coppa Italia. At 39, the Croatian came on after halftime, greeted by a loud applause, and became part of a night that felt historic. More than what he did on the pitch, it was the simple image of him in Milan's jersey, the one that he admired as a boy that carried the weight. As a kid, Modric watched, I can't even say the name, Zanmir Boban, another Croatian, shine in Milan's colors, now pulling on the same shirt near the end of his career. It almost feels like closing a circle. The announcer at San Siro even said that during the team introductions, he was a boy who wore the Rossoneri jersey and later became a legend. Milan settled in the match early. Rafael Leao, forgive me if I butchered the names of these players, scored with a header in the first half, though he had to leave soon after with an injury. Early in the second half, Christian Pulisic, the U.S. men's national team star, doubled the lead after a quick 1-2 with Jimenez. With Allegri suspended and watching from the stands, Milan kept control without much trouble. The score could have been higher. Saelmakers and Fofana both had clear chances. Bari tried to respond late, but Maignan was steady in goal. Modric started on the bench as he had against Chelsea in a friendly. 20 minutes into the second half, he replaced Christian Pulisic, and the ovation was immediate. Playing in a central holding role, he showed brief flashes of quality. His standout came when he dribbled past two players in quick succession, drawing applause. The shot that followed was weak and saved without trouble. Near the end, he sent in a cross from the right, which no one was there to finish it. Even after the game ended, Modric stayed on the pitch. He spoke with Noah Okafor, pointing out positioning and details. It was a smart gesture, but a clear sign of his leadership. Milan brought him not only to play, but to guide younger teammates, sharing the experience of a career at the very top. So, there we have it, guys. Christian Pulisic was replaced in this game by Luka Modric. And it's a positive thing because Luka Modric is a veteran in this game, in the game of soccer. So Christian Pulisic took a step to the side and allowed Luka Modric to have his moment. That's great to see, him do that as a player, like showing his unselfishness, and not too hog the spotlight. Even though AC Milan had the lead, they were able to hold on to it and get the win against Bali. So there we have it, guys, for that right there. So there's more news that came out about Christian Pulisic here. So I'm just going to skip ahead here. Christian Pulisic faces brutal accusation from U.S. men's national team legend as the situation gets ugly. And this article came out on August 19th, 2025. Okay, so it's the battle between the current and former generations of U.S. men's national team stars has taken another turn, with Casey Keller, the latest team legend, to weigh in on the controversial comments recently made by both Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah on the former Paramount docuseries Pulisic. Mauricio Pochettino's U.S. men's national teams has been heavily criticized throughout 2025 as a result of continually underwhelming performances, especially in light of their dismal CONCACAF Nations League title defense in March, which led to particularly harsh comments from the likes of Landon Donovan. Pulisic has been particularly critiqued not only for his role in the Nations League, but especially as a result of his decision to sit out of the Gold Cup in the summer. This led to further questions regarding his and the U.S. men's national team's commitment and priorities from Tim Howard and Alexi Lalas, among others. After the AC Milan midfielder decided to fire back in an appearance on the Call It What You Want podcast, he has since returned to the subject on his docuseries, with Tim Weah labeling such criticism as evil. Quite frankly, the guys before us didn't win anything earlier. Lalas wasted no time in firing back the duo's comments, with Keller having now decided to speak out on the ESPN FC. This is what Keller said, quote, "I'm not asking you to have a great game every time you step on the pitch. We know that's impossible. All I'm asking you to show 100% commitment every time on the pitch. And I don't like anybody watching the U.S. national team over the last year can be honest with themselves and say that you've consistently seen a team that is giving 100% every time they step on the pitch." So Lalas also said, quote, "You can find a few individuals and say, okay, that wasn't their best game, or they did okay, but there was no edge or to anything they've done. And I think I made a comment that it looked like the semi-final for the Nations League. Half the team was more interested in sitting on the bench taking Instagram photos than being in the match. That might be a little harsh, but the point is, I'm not being individually mean. I'm looking for a collective effort that did not hold a standard. Again, you miss a sitter, you make a mistake, that's going to happen. You can have an off day, your touch can be off, but you can work out. You can always work hard, but you can always tackle. You can always try. You can always make tactical mistakes. You can never make technical mistakes." So there we have it. So Keller, that's what he said, close quote. Keller also suggested that ultimately much of this internal pressure and continual criticism is of their own making, with their use of social media, podcasts, and now this docuseries simply adding fuel to the fire. Tim Weah says, quote, Keller says, quote, Casey Keller said, quote, "This is stuff that they've invented. They've gone on social media. They've said they've had a docuseries. They've done all of this. You've invented this, and you need content for this. So now you're bringing other stuff, and then you're complaining that, oh, I'm getting too much attention now. Then don't. Just play. You erase your social media. Don't go on a podcast. Do an interview after a match, and then go from there. Don't complain that you're getting too much pressure when you created the pressure." Following the recent comments, Pulisic and Weah may not be in line to win any popular competitions anytime soon among either the U.S. men's national team legend community or among much of the U.S. men's national team's fan base. This could be This could all change when they step up in their next international friendlies, with Continental side host to host South Korea and Japan in back-to-back friendlies in early September. So, I mean, there's a lot that Casey Keller has definitely mentioned. One of the things I found interesting is that he said that the U.S. men's a lot of his stuff may be kind of they may have brought this on themselves because they're creating this content to bring attention to themselves. A lot of this stuff might be of their own doing. They're bringing all this unwanted attention, and so they have to set these. If they bring this attention, they set these high levels of expectations for themselves, and so they have to put this pressure on themselves. And they're only doing this because they want the attention and the for, you know, I'm gonna say it, for clout, basically. And you know, that's a problem. Obviously, the professional soccer players, they should focus on the game. That's important. You know, just kind of stay away from social media. Focus on what you do best. Don't worry too much about what other people think. And you know, like he said, he's correct. Just focus on what you have to do. Try to win the World Cup. That's the ultimate goal of why you're a soccer player. You're trying to compete to get your team into the best possible position to get into the finals of the World Cup and win the World Cup. Obviously, that's easier said than done for Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah, and well, obviously that's what has to be done. So there has to be some sort of compromise, you know, to put aside the individuality and come together and play together as a team. That has to happen. I'm going to kind of skip ahead to the last article here. So, in this last one here, in this article from Athlon Sports, and it was written to August 22nd, 2025, Klinsmann hits back at U.S. men's national team criticizing Pulisic. They did the same. So, I believe he has some defenders here, Christian Pulisic here. So it says, despite criticism from former players of the U.S. men's national soccer team, Christian Pulisic continues to be supported by other former colleagues. This is from the other side. Christian Pulisic's latest words toward the former U.S. men's national team players in this docuseries, Pulisic, caused a lot of different reactions from fans. Fans and ex-players of the national team. Former players who were shown in the docuseries criticizing Pulisic and the U.S. men's national team were Landon Donovan, Tim Howard, Alexi Lalas, and more. Pulisic's complaint to the criticism caused more criticism towards the player and other U.S. men's national teams like Tim Weah. Pulisic said the latest to defend Christian Pulisic is a former U.S. men's national team head coach, Jurgen Klinsmann. The former head coach of Team USA gave Pulisic his first cap with the U.S. men's national team in 2016. Pulisic was 17 years old when he played his first U.S. men's national team game in a World Cup qualifier against Guatemala. He became the first player ever to play for the U.S. men's national team in a World Cup qualifier. Klinsmann did not approve of the former U.S. men's national team players criticizing Pulisic ahead of the World Cup next year. Klinsmann hinted towards a former player also deciding not to play for the national team in the past, and Landon Donovan immediately comes to mind. In an interview with The Athletic, Klinsmann was not a fan of the American media covering Pulisic's decision not to participate in the Gold Cup this summer. He found it ironic that the former players criticized Pulisic's decision and reminded them that they all did it well. Without mentioning him, the fans believe he called out Donovan, who took a sabbatical year from 2012 to 2013. Um, Klinsmann made a bold decision ahead of the 2014 World Cup by not including Tim Donovan in the World Cup roster, as he believed other players were ahead of him. Klinsmann became the U.S. national team men's head coach, and I gotta find that where I was before. Oh, yeah. Klinsmann became the U.S. men's national team head coach in 2011 and lasted until 2016. During his time as coach, one of the most notable decisions of his career as the U.S. coach was not bringing Donovan for the 2014 World Cup. Since this decision, many believe the relationship between the two has turned sour. Donovan expressed confusion about the decision on the kicking in the podcast. Donovan revealed, telling Klinsmann that the players he had to choose will be called up and never play for the U.S. men's national team again. In an interview with Roger Bennett the man from the Blazers, Klinsmann revealed he had no problem with the player until he made the work decision. Alright, so there we have it with Klinsmann, and we got it with Klinsmann and the U.S. men's national soccer team. So obviously there's a lot of development there going on between them. Klinsmann is basically saying that the criticism that Christian Pulisic is facing is the same thing that the U.S. men's national team is sharing. So there's a lot that, obviously when they were younger, they received the same criticism, and now they're doing the same thing from what happened to Klinsmann, to them is happening to Pulisic now. Obviously, there's a lot there to digest. It's kind of tough to say because we have these things in sports that happen. In basketball, it happens in football, it happens in baseball. A lot of these things happen. So it's kind of tough to say where things are going to go from here. Perhaps we'll see more of a unification among the team once this happens. So let's see. We're going to skip forward. We're going to move forward again. Alright. Now we're going to talk about the FIFA update and what's going on with the World Cup. So this article from OneFootball.com says the U.S. men's national team 2026 World Cup depth chart, picking apart the wingers. Says here, to succeed at the 2026 World Cup, the U.S. men's national team will need to score goals. That will likely require creating chances from the flanks. Luckily, that's an idea of strength in the U.S. men's national team, largely because of Christian Pulisic. Of course, it's worth looking at the other players. Mauricio Pochettino has at that position, and which players will be on the next summer's World Cup roster. The two we know, there's little doubt that both Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah will be on the 2026 World Cup roster. Furthermore, any projection of the starting lineup for the U.S. men's national team will have both players involved. After all, they combined to score in the first U.S. men's national team at the goal of the 2022 World Cup. Plus, both figure to be the same the same in the prime of their career during the 2026 World Cup, so they are going to be well positioned to start for the U.S. Now the next summer, any controversy on why Christian Pulisic sat out the summer should be gone. All that matters is that he's able to stay healthy and have another productive season for AC Milan, as Pulisic has been among the top attacking players in Serie A since joining the club in 2023. Tim Weah, meanwhile, is back in France after transferring to Marseille this summer, even with a modest 7 goals in his modest 7 goals and 44 international appearances. Tim Weah is an established player with the USMNT national team, including a goal for the 2022 World Cup, bearing something dramatic as close to envision someone talking about how taking a starting spot on the national team. So, there's a new kid on the block with Tim Weah and Christian Pulisic absent during the Gold Cup. Diego Luna took full advantage of this opportunity to get on the field. Diego Luna endeared to fans in January for the broken nose. He did even more during the Gold Cup, scoring 3 goals during the knockout stage, including a brace and the semi-final goal against Guatemala. Before his coming out party of the Gold Cup, it was clear that Pochettino was a big fan of Luna. He was a clever yet first touch, a knack for finishing scoring chances, and capable of playing either or in the number 10 position. Granted, overtaking Pulisic and Weah for a starting spot is hard to imagine, but Luna likely did enough during the Gold Cup to give himself an inside track on making the Gold Cup roster. Whether there is room for more wingers than Pulisic, and the World Cup roster remains to be seen. Pochettino might prefer to bring more depth in at other positions, especially since Pulisic and Weah will likely play in most of the minutes. However, versatile players like Yunus Musa, who can also play in a more traditional role, at striker, you can make their way onto the roster and serve as winger if needed. Beyond that, there are a few players on the fridge who might be worth monitoring in the vets in what's to come. Kevin Paredes has made an impact with several youth national teams, but the right winger missed out on most of the 2024-2025 season with Wolfsburg because of an injury and is hurt again around the start of the season. So his development has been somewhat stunted. Griffith Yao is another option to provide depth after scoring 13 goals in the Belgian Pro League for Westerlo over the past 2 seasons. Cade is another young winger, although he scored just 1 goal in 11 international trips. Players like Paredes, Yao could be yes. Players like Paredes, Yao, and Cowell could all be a couple of years away from hitting their stride and being serious contenders for the national team. Meanwhile, 27-year-old Alejandro Zevendeas is in his prime and could be a more serious candidate for the World Cup roster if Pochettino finds room for another winger. He hits his stride with clubs in the La Liga mix over I'm sorry guys, I'm getting distracted here. Meanwhile, 27-year-old Alejandro Zendejas is in his prime and could be a more serious candidate for the World Cup roster if Pochettino finds room for another winger. He hit his stride with the Club America and Liga MX over the last few seasons. However, Zendejas has struggled to translate that to the international level, scoring just one goal in 11 appearances for the U.S. men's national team. As mentioned, it'll likely be Pulisic and Weah playing most of the minutes on the World Cup next summer. Even if Luna or one of the other players earns a roster spot barring the injury, it'll be Tim Weah on the field and Pulisic on the field, and the U.S. will sink or swim based on how they perform. Of course, since both are World Cup veterans who have played at big European markets, that's not such a bad thing, even if there is a steep drop-off in quality and experience among wingers over the first. If there's experience playing among wingers other than Pulisic and Weah, so there's a lot there to kind of digest. The men's soccer team definitely needs to have more wingers. They got to have a stronger attack formation. They need to have some people that are going to join them and getting people on the wings and flanking and stuff. So that has to happen, obviously. So let's get into this last article here. In this last article, we're going to be looking at the news about Team Argentina. This is the big news for the day about Team Argentina. Lionel Messi is definitely going to be returning, along with Mascherano, who will also be there. So let's get into this. This article is written August 18th, 2025. Argentina coach Lionel Scaloni has included Lionel Messi in his preliminary list for CONMEBOL World Cup qualifiers against Argentina and Ecuador. So World Cup qualifiers against Ecuador and Argentina on September 4th and September 9th, respectively. The 31-man squad for the matches include young talents like Real Madrid's recent signing Franco Mascherano and Manchester City's Claudio Echeverri, as well as AFC Bournemouth defender Julio Soler and Jose Manuel Flaco Lopez, who plays for Palmeiras. The call-up marks the return of Marcos Acuna, as well as Manchester City United forward Alejandro Garnacho is missing this time around. Chelsea midfielder Enzo Fernandez, who received a 2-month suspension for his sending off against Colombia in June, will sit out instead. FC Porto's Alam Villara was chosen. This past March, Argentina became the first South American team to qualify for the 2026 World Cup, which will be held in the United States, Canada, and Mexico. They lead CONMEBOL qualifying. Argentina, who won their third World Cup title in Qatar in 2022, secured their next by beating Brazil 4-1 in March after Bolivia failed to beat Uruguay. The win over Brazil was marked the first time Argentina has won both matches against Brazil against Brazil in the World Cup qualifying tournament. The home victory was also Argentina's first against Brazilians since qualifying for the 2006 World Cup. Wow, so Argentina has not beat Brazil since 2006. That's been 19 years since they last beat Brazil in Argentina. That's quite a streaky record. They finally broke that streak. The match against Venezuela will be played at home in the Monumental in Buenos Aires, and the match versus Ecuador will be played sea level in Guayaquil. Argentina captain Messi, meanwhile, returned to action for Inter Miami on Saturday night following 2 weeks out with a muscle injury on his right leg against LA Galaxy. Messi scored a goal, then provided a sensational assist for Luis Suarez to propel his MLS club to a 3-1 win. Miami head coach Javier was dedicated to has cautioned that Messi, who is seen grabbing his hamstring a couple of times, is not at full health. So he says, quote unquote, Mascherano says he wasn't clearly 100% comfortable. Now the reality is that as the minutes went by, he started to loosen up a little more.
we'll have to see how it ended in terms of fatigue. The injury had been something very small and good in the 3 training sessions we had. I repeat how important it was that he finished the game. I was swinging up in yes, it says Messi. It says I repeat how important it is that he finished the game. I was seeing him better as the minutes went by, but what we have to see is tomorrow how he feels and take it day by day. Messi, 38, has scored his past 4 appearances when coming off the bench with Inter Miami. He last saw limited minutes for Argentina in the 1-1 qualifying draw as versus Colombia and the 1-0 win over Chile this past June. Prior to that match, he missed the March qualifiers due to injury. So there we have it, guys. Messi's 38 years old right now, and he's getting up there, obviously, and obviously has to come off the bench now that he is older. He cannot play for an extended period of time because that's going to put a lot of damage on his body. Since Messi is older, he definitely has to take a step back in this World Cup and let some of the younger players shine. If Argentina is going to be making any strides forward and winning another World Cup and repeating as champions, they obviously have to let the younger talent shine. And Messi is one of the best footballers out there, his best soccer players out there in the world. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo is also a great player. We can't have Messi without Ronaldo, but let's just say Messi has done it again. Messi won the World Cup in 2022. He could definitely get the team to another World Cup next year, but it's going to be a really hard chance. It's going to be really tough for them to make it to the final. But obviously, if Messi can do it, it's possible. It's just going to take a lot of effort, and I'll see how things are going to go from here, obviously. So, I don't want to keep this live stream long. That's all that we have for today. I will see you guys in the next live stream, and have a good day. It's a nice day outside. Enjoy the beautiful weather. See you guys